Hello, everybody. Hello, Trailblazers. I'm glad you've come. On behalf of the TRIA Germany user group, welcome to today's ISV Landscape session, in which we explore solutions from third parties in the Salesforce ecosystem. My name is Rene. I'm the TRIA user group leader, and I'll be your co-host for today. I have the pleasure of co-hosting this session with Rodrigo Rosas Zamudio, who is leading the Veracruz, Mexico user group. Good morning and welcome to our participants from Mexico. Over to you, Rodrigo.
Thanks, Rene, for having us. Thanks, Rene, for having us. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this session. As you heard, I'm Rodrigo from Veracruz, Mexico. Now let me introduce you to our esteemed guests and speakers today, who are Dasun Ratnasekera and Shaad from Salesforce ISV Partner GridMate, who will present their application of the same name, GridMate. This session will have three parts: intro, demo, and Q&A. In principle, you can ask questions at any time. For that, please raise your hand and use the button, and or rather save them for the Q&A session. Our volunteer Jonas will moderate the questions. So let's get started with this. Dasun and Nas, the stage is yours.
Thanks. Hello, everyone. Thanks, Rene, and thanks, Rodrigo, for having us here for this week's session of the ISV Landscape Series. We're really excited to be here and really appreciate it. So this week, we want to cover simplifying Salesforce data management with GridMate. So those of you who know about GridMate already know that we are a productivity suite that comprises of 30 plus components that's packed into one product, and for a single price you get access to all these 30 components. It's built natively on the Lightning framework, and it's a low code and a point and click configuration solution. So with that said, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Nas to demo one of our most used components, which is what we call the user grids. Thereafter, depending on the amount of time left, we will also demo, just very quickly show some of the other components as well. So over to you, Nas.
Hey guys, can you all hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, so I'm gonna start sharing my screen. I'm gonna keep my camera off. Apologies, my video is a little bit choppy. But let me know when you guys can see this come up. Okay. Is that good? Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So, like Dasun said, right? What I'm going to show you guys is just take you guys through a quick tour of the GridMate component base. We started off with the grids. This is our bread and butter day to day, and we've got over 400 organizations using these components, right? This component that I have on screen over here is called the user grid component, and the purpose of it is essentially to enable those end users to better utilize Salesforce with, of course, those Excel-like capabilities that everyone is so familiar with, right? All within Salesforce itself. One of the key areas that we specialize in is your user interface and user experience, where we're really able to bypass a whole lot of Salesforce limitations. And while I go through this demo, you guys will see how we do so, right? So to start with, this view is currently created, or this grid is created on the opportunity object. I've given that a label. We've called that an opportunity pipeline. You can see that I'm aggregating on the amount field, as well as doing an average on the probability field. So in some ways, it also gives you report-like capabilities for you to leverage within Salesforce, right? On your list views, so to speak. With that being said, you can also see that I'm actually grouping on the account type. Now keep that in mind, because even though I'm on an opportunity pipeline, which is the opportunity object, I'm able to actually group on the account type as well, which is a field from the account itself, right? If I actually collapse all of these groups, you guys can see that I can then look at all of the aggregations. When I scroll to the right, you'll see that I can look at my probabilities as an average for each of those groups that I have set up over there. And I can always expand that accordingly and then look at all of those records as is, right? I can freeze columns, as you can see when I scroll to the right and left. My columns stay frozen. That's something that GridMate can provide, allowing you to visualize and sort of arrange your fields in a way that really makes more sense, where you can just pretty much put your important fields that you want to look at on the left hand side over here, freeze that, and then you're good to go, right? So one of the reasons we allow users to freeze columns typically is because we allow users to also bypass the limitation that Salesforce has, which is 15 fields on a list view and even 10 on a related list. We bypass both of those Salesforce limitations. You can see that I've got a couple of different fields and columns going on over here. But if I scroll left and right, you can see how easy it is for me to sort of visualize everything and just stay on the context of what's most important for me, right? With that being said, you can also see that I'm conditionally coloring on so many different fields as well. I'm doing a conditional color on the amount and 2 different criteria on the stage field as well. But what I'll do is really quickly, because we have the admin user group over here as well, we'll maybe do a little bit of config to show you guys how easy this is to actually configure yourselves, right? With that being said, I'll start showing you guys how the filtering works with our grids, right? And how easy it is and user-friendly it is even for an end user to actually come in and create this for themselves. So provided you come in and create this little Excel sort of sheet on the opportunity object within Salesforce, you come in here, you can create a bunch of different filters, as you can see over here. But what I'll do is I'll go into an already created filter, which is, for example, the closed one filter. When I select that filter on that drop down on the left, this is pretty much, there's pretty much no limitation as to how many filters you can have. We call this section the end user filter section, right? The reason being, any end user, you don't have to be an admin on Salesforce. You can just come in here as an end user and create this for yourself, right? But of course, if you have the question, and admins can actually define whether end users have that permission or not, but just by default, they do, right? So if I edit this permission, edit this filter rather, right, you'll see how easy it is for me to actually create that. All I really did was I put in a name for that filter. I did an and or condition. We support and or conditions rather than I did an and condition. So I'm doing stage equals to closed one. Just pretty simple as that, right? What I can do from there is I can cross filter if I want to, go through with or without permissions, criteria through other objects as well. So I can maybe do cross filtering through other objects essentially as well, right? Provided there is an existing relationship. But there's a lot of different capabilities you can have over here. And then what you would do after you set everything up is you save that, and then it's stored on this little drop down over here. What users can also do when they select these filters is essentially make it a link like this, which will be easily accessible on the header of the grid with one single click. Now, say you want to look really quickly as a sales user, your sales users probably want to really quickly look at, what are the opportunities that are closed won, as an example, right? That's just an example of the filter. And they want that to refresh every 30 minutes, right? Or we can even do every 2 minutes. So you'll see that refresh in real time while I'm going through the demo, right? You'll see a little loading sign alongside closed one because I've set that to refresh every 2 minutes. So it doesn't refresh your page. It doesn't refresh the component. It just refreshes that individual filter link. And it's accessible through one single click. So if I click on big deals, you can see that I've got a total of 1,212 records that fit that criteria, and then 282 that fit the closed one criteria. But most importantly, each of them are accessible with one single click. So imagine the power of your end users having the ability to have up to 10 of these links on the header of their grids over here, and then actually click between them every time they just want to look at that particular data set, right? So it helps a lot in terms of that filtering. Users can also edit that at any time that they want to. They can clone these filters if they want to through that clone button over there. And they can also define who they want to share these filters with, right? These filters can be shared on a user role and public group basis. So when I click this share button over here, you'll see a little pop-up that will allow me to define who I want to share this with. So let's say I want to select a user. I'll probably search for a user just like that. And I can select whoever I want to share this with, and I can define if I want them to have access to edit the filter themselves or even just read only if you want. So they can just plug and play in that case. Right? Yeah, and guys, any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat. I'm more than happy to answer at the end of the session. Yeah, so this is one of the primary areas for you to filter as an end user. If you have the question as admins to sort of define or replicate a list view filter, because that's what this is all about. We're essentially replicating or replacing Salesforce list views with all of these Excel-like capabilities. If you want to replicate those filters on a Salesforce list view, if I actually go into an opportunity standard list view over here, you can see what that's going to look like, right? So let's open that up. And while that's actually loading, let me open up the config whiz over here. So here you go. I'm on the recently viewed list view for opportunities. You can see that not a lot that I'm able to do. I can't conditionally color. I can't inline edit. A whole lot of limitations for me. If I want to filter this list, I essentially have to click on this little funnel icon. And that typically is more often than not available to admins, right? Unless end users have a lot of permissions, they're not going to be able to filter that data, right? So what we allow you to do with those filters is enable them to filter that over there. But as an admin, you can also set the entire scope of the grid through this little section over here. So the same way that you can query build your filter, you can do that, and it won't be editable by non-admins, so to speak, right? While I'm on the config whiz, I'll also show you maybe a quick coloring that we can do on a different field. So let's maybe color the industry field. So I'll select that particular column. I'll do a little bit of a distinct color so we can differentiate between what we're coloring. We'll add a condition where we'll say we want to look at and color actually the industries fields. So anything that includes finance is going to be colored in that purplish lilac color that you see there. And I'm going to give that a label and say that those are financial opportunities, right? I've got a typo there. Yep. There we go. Now, when we add the coloring, you'll see that that's added in there now. So it's literally as easy as that for me to add a coloring as an admin. So once I save that, just give that a couple of minutes to save. Let me refresh here. Renee, Dasun, I just want to confirm you guys can hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, everything's good.
Awesome. Okay, so give this a minute to load. Just refreshing here. And let's see if our cell coloring got implemented, right? So we'll go back in here. Let's maybe do that once more really quick. Stuck in load. It's always at the most important times that it's required to load. That's the funny thing. Okay, that's fine. But anyways, cell coloring typically works like that. If you want to search amongst any other fields or data types with Salesforce as a standard, typically you've got to define your search layouts as an admin. Like you've got to go into your Salesforce setup, if you have access to, of course, and then go and define which fields on this particular list are going to be searchable, essentially, right? With GridMate, if you go into the config whiz, you just click on search over here. You can define whatever fields that user wants to be able to search by. So all of these little elements allow users to really define and customize their lists to exactly how they want that to look like, right? Okay, the coloring is back. So what I'm going to do is really quickly redo that so I can show you guys what that look like. Yeah, we just do done, add a condition. We will do industries, includes finance. Yep, add coloring. There we go. Let's save that. Okay. Now, once that loads, you should see a hint of purple on the screen on the industries column. Yep, there you go. So you see that now as soon as I remove, and I'm going to show you guys the cell level editing over here, I'm going to remove the finance value from here. And that's just similar to Salesforce cell level editing, except that we can do it on any field, any data type, similar to our inline editing, which I will show you in a bit. But as soon as you sort of reload that, you'll see that the coloring is then taken away, right? Because it doesn't fit the criteria, right? A couple of other things really cool that we are able to do with filtering is you can actually interactively filter, and that is pretty much filtering like you would on an Excel sheet. So if you want to say you want to look at all of your opportunities in the negotiation review stage, or anyway, let's say closed lost as an example, you can click this little funnel icon over here. And then you just do negotiation review, or we'll actually do closed lost instead. Apply. And this is similar to Excel, right? Where you, once you apply that, you can essentially see that, impacted on the grid here itself, right? You can also see that it's pretty accessible, where the color is a darker shade of red and the text becomes white. So it's very easy on the eye as well. And then the next thing I'll show you guys is every time you have these interactive filters applied, whether it's on one single column or on multiple columns at the same time simultaneously, you can always reset that little bin icon on the top there, and then go back to your default view, right? What we can also do is, let me show you the inline editing capability. So the pencil icon there, and you can see now how every single field that I have, even my parent related fields, these are fields coming from the account object. There's no other solution out there, including Salesforce, that allows you to edit parent related fields, right? Because I'm on the opportunity object, I'm able to, even though I'm on the opportunity object rather, I'm able to edit related fields coming from the account object as well. So that's something really, really powerful that a lot of users, use reports to at least visualize and at least read. But we take that a notch further, where you can actually now edit that information as well. And it's not just editing, right? This inline editing capability allows you to, for example, select a lookup value like that, and you can actually drag that and drop that from top to bottom, pretty much like using an Excel, right? It's very, very user intuitive. If I take a pick list value as an example and I drag that from top to bottom, you'll see how that's updated. If I change my amount fields, right? Now we've got an ARR field over here, this column. This is actually a formula field, but it's a formula field not coming from the object. It's a formula field that we create on the grid, and it's only stored on this particular grid, right? To show you how cool that is, I'll make a change to the amount field over here, and you'll see in real time how the ARR is calculated while you're in the edit mode itself. So you can drag that and drop that, and you'll see how that'll eventually get updated for the other values as well, right? So it's very intuitive, very easy for you to edit rich text, long text, dependent pick list, numerical fields. Yeah, we essentially support the editing of any Salesforce field without any limitations whatsoever, right? You also have the ability, guys, to mass add multiple lines and even copy and paste, right? What I'll do really quickly is I will take an export of this CSV. I will export that, and I can actually copy and paste data coming from that CSV in itself and paste it literally in this same file over here itself, right? So we open that file up. What I'm going to do on my other screen is just quickly update these values. Let me actually bring this over here. Can you guys see this Excel sheet? Is that not visible?
No, I think because you're sharing the window.
Yep, let me just do that again. Let's share the window. I'll share the other window. So what I'll do, guys, is I'm going to remove all of these IDs. So I'll delete. This is an export that I took from GridMate itself. I'm going to remove the account lookup ID. Just keep the names in there. And I'm just going to keep it simple, right? I'm going to have the account type, probably ARR, close date, all of that stuff. And probably copy just the first couple of fields, just like that. And let me share again. So now I'm going to share my Salesforce. Just confirm you guys can see that as well.
Here
Is that good? Awesome. Click on the pencil icon, add 3 new lines, and then click the plus icon. And then when you click here, you can essentially paste from within here itself. There you go. Yep, there you go. So you can actually do that from not just the account lookup one by one, but you can actually do that from top to bottom across all of your different columns all together in one copy paste, right? With that being said, we can close that and then move on to, maybe I'll show you guys what the import capability looks like. This is a pretty good alternative to a data loader. The GridMate import wizard is a very simple 4-step process where you can upload a file, just take any Excel or CSV. You can define it just based on maybe the existing export that I did. You'll see how easy it is to essentially go about doing. And we essentially track all of your any validation rules that are bypassed. Everything is taken into consideration during these imports, and it's created in a way that's very intuitive for even end users to leverage, right? Admins can define who has access to these importing and exporting capabilities and who doesn't, right? So all of those permissions can be defined to a very granular level. You can see that there's a file preview over here. If I click next, I can automatically go into my mapping. You can see that some of the fields, probably 75% of the fields here, are already automatically mapped, and I can define what I want to manually map myself and what I don't, right? There are 3 different operations you can leverage: the insert, update, and upsert. So whether you want to create new records or load new records into the grid, into the opportunity database, you can do that through the insert function. Whether you want to update existing records, you can leverage that using the update function, or a mix of both of them would be what we call the upsert function, right? You can define your date formats, all of these things. But essentially, once you complete all of this mapping, you do a quick data cleanse and validate all of your fields. You submit this to begin importing. And every time you have imports, in progress, it'll all be displayed on the import monitor on the left-hand side there, right? Okay, cool. So with that being said, I'll quickly jump into some of the mass actions that you can leverage with GridMate. These are just out-of-the-box actions, guys, but GridMate has minimum 3 different types of actions. You have the actions coming out of the box with GridMate, which look like the mass update, mass cloning records, mass deleting records if you want to. All of these actions that are actually defined on the config whiz. If you go into the actions tab over here, all of these actions come out of the box with GridMate, right? It's a part of our package. But if you have actions that you're leveraging from within Salesforce, you can of course embed those and bring them in on our grids as well. Those are supported. You guys can call flows. I'm sure everyone here is probably using a lot of flows within the existing orgs. You guys can leverage those flows within our components, call flows, trigger flows, screen flows, all of that stuff can be brought in to our grids as well. And you can just leverage them on the top here as actions, right? To show you what the GridMate out-of-the-box actions allow you to do, if I enable or trigger the mass update over here, what I can do is, for example, I'll do a mass update on the name where I'll say, demo for career group. Hope I'm spelling that right. We can save that. And then there you go. So let's try that again. Let me just quickly select 3 different records. Or the records weren't selected. And we'll do an update on, yeah, let's do a lookup update, right? Let's actually select an account. We'll do, yeah. We'll say, yeah. So you can see how easy it is to mass update, even lookup fields. And again, this is you're updating a lookup, right? This is the account, but you can, of course, trigger an update on any field whatsoever. Another thing, and this is me sort of making a little segue into another component, which is our file component. You can also, guys, upload a file related to this particular opportunity record, literally from within the list view. I can select this upload file button over here, select any file that I have from within my database over here, just open that up, and then just really quickly upload that into that particular record. You'll see that once that completes and I hit done, how easy that was for me to do, and actually even preview for that matter, right? Once I click done over there, I'll select this particular record, which is the first opportunity here, awesome bronze gloves, and I'll split view to actually bring in this side panel of both my child grids of opportunity products related to this opportunity and the ability for me to preview my files from within the screen, right? So we've got a total of 5 files related to this particular opportunity. You can see that there'll be a couple of different file types. You can see that there's a PDF, there's a PPT, there's images that we uploaded just now as well. You can actually scroll through the entire PPT from within, Salesforce in itself, right? Of course, it'll take a couple of minutes to load, but even if a user doesn't have, doesn't need to download this, they can view these files from within Salesforce itself, right? Users can also go a step further and actually connect these file components with other external file storage platforms, right? Like, for example, if you guys are using Google Drive, you guys are using SharePoint, Dropbox, whatever that is, you can connect that with the GridMate file component, and essentially you never really need to leverage or utilize Salesforce storage, because we know how that can be quite costly. You guys can bypass that and utilize the file component to do so, right? So there's an easy connection over there. Jumping back to this child grid, this is also a really, really powerful tool where you're able to bring in a child grid related to your parents over here. You'll see that if I click on the second opportunity that I had, there'll be a different set of products loading in into my child grid over here, right? There's now a total of 5 products. I can inline edit, I can import, export, do all of those different actions, and even filter even on these child grids as well, right? So you can define custom record details over here. You can bring in chatter feeds and publishers. There's a lot of different capabilities that you can leverage with the split view, right? With that being said, guys, I'm gonna really quickly switch from the grids. We'll jump into the map component. I see there's a couple of questions. Yep. Yeah, so with the map component, guys, you can see that I've set up a map on the account object. Everything here has been clustered in a way that when you zoom into a cluster, for example, you'll see how that sort of branches out and then in and out as you zoom in and out from the map, right? I've got a couple of different accounts in this EU region. So what I'm able to do is actually, firstly, I can conditionally color if I want to. I can select and just leverage the tooltip information that I'm able to bring in from the map itself. This is all details coming from the object itself, from the account object, of course. But I can also, more importantly, leverage this Explorer on the right-hand side to firstly search around an address if you want to, but if you also want to search around other objects on the map, for example, a contact, you want to search around another account, or any other, geocoded object that you guys have in your Salesforce instance, you can actually search around that as well, right? So I'm going to do an example really quickly, maybe around the area. We'll do Paris, France as an example, and then let's do this area. Now that we're searching around this particular location in France, you can see that amongst the 10-kilometer radius or a 10-mile radius, for example, you can set that however you want to. You can define how much or how many miles or kilometers you want to search around, but you'll also see the number of accounts that then fit that particular search criteria, right? You can view additional details when you drop those down over there. You can leverage actions apart from just viewing and editing. You can trigger actions on a record level. If I actually zoom in here, let me click on the cluster in itself. What I can actually do is click on the control button on my keyboard, select that area over there. And if I click on the plus icon over here, you'll see how all of those selected records get selected on the map list on the right-hand side over here. And the reason we allow users to do that is because we allow you to trigger actions on the map as well on a global scale. So you can do actions such as assigning, as an example. You can do mass emailing. You can pretty much define any flows that you have going on. But there's a lot of scope that users can leverage with the map component, right? So I'll really quickly go back to the default view, and I'll also show you how it's easy for users to filter on the map component, right? So let me refresh that. So yeah, let's give that a couple of minutes and see how that's going. What I'm going to filter on, guys, because this is on the account, we'll actually do this filter on the account type field. So we can maybe see how the number of records is then going to be reduced. We initially had a total of, I think, 53 accounts on this account, on this Map Explorer. Let's just reload the page once again. Cool. Now we can click the Explorer again, and then you'll see this little tab on the right that says filters. You've got two different types of filters. You can quickly filter just on any field, which I'm going to show you how that works. We'll just do maybe filter on account type. Go back. Give that a load. Add a condition. Yeah, we'll say account type equals to, we'll just look at customers as an example. We'll apply that. You'll see how the number of records will then reduce significantly. But you can now see that instead of the 53 that we were seeing before, you can now see that we've only got 12 accounts in total, right? Yeah, so you can essentially filter on any field, guys. That's really up to you. You can bring on and plug in this map on any customer-centered object. It's pretty much the same with any GridMate component, whether it's the grids, the maps. You can actually use our components on any customer-centered object across any cloud on Salesforce, right? There's pretty much no restriction over there. You've got the calendar. Then there's a couple of different calendars that we've released now. What I'm showing you over here is the multi-calendar, where you can see that I'm sort of pivoting between two different objects, where I've got my activities in the form of inspections defined on the actual body of the calendar over here. If I hover over a record, you'll see that I'm able to bring in, again, tooltip information, of course, coming from that object itself. I can do deleting, editing, bring in other actions from here. I can cancel an event, do other stuff from here as well. So I can trigger record level actions from there. I can also define assignee objects over here on the left. So for example, in this instance, I'm doing my contact object defined over here. So for each and every contact, for each and every week, month, or quarter, I can see how many events each and every user has, and exactly what's going on a week-by-week basis or a monthly basis, however you have that set up, right? I can drag and drop my records from one place to another, and when you do that, that will of course subsequently update the details associated to that, where the date will get updated, and then the assignee also gets updated accordingly, right? If you want to, for example, sort on availability for someone, right? You maybe will drag something here, and as someone who's overseeing inspections, as an example, overseeing this object, you can see when you click on the the field itself, how we're able to sort in a descending order to see, okay, these are the users that have nothing assigned to them. But then if you sort in a descending order, you'll see that, okay, these are the users that are busy, right? So Zoe over here has two inspections on this particular day. We can probably take something off her plate and assign that to someone else who's free by just dragging and dropping, just like that, right? So just really easy for users to do. And again, any object can be supported over here. You can custom conditionally color. You can bring in multiple objects on the same calendar. So even though you've got your contacts over here, you can actually bring in your inspections, your events, your tasks, meetings, whatever you have as a start and end date in terms of objects. You can actually bring that and define that on the calendar over here, right? Couple of other things that the calendar allows you to do, and I'll be wrapping up in a bit, but a couple of other things that the calendar allows you to do is you can export. You've got all of these different views. You've got this filtering view over here where you can filter on both objects or multiple objects at the same time. And then you can also view a timeline view like this, where you can see these are the details related to that particular record. You can edit that whilst on the same page. You can trigger your actions from there as well. Yeah, but essentially a lot of capabilities there. And I guess the last thing, guys, and this is just me going through about 5 of the 30 components, but the last one I'll show you is the pipeline board. This is the Kanban board feature. Really quickly, some of the things that we overcome as Salesforce limitations is, of course, the ability for you to conditionally color. There's no limitation as to what pick list you define over here. That's completely up to you. We support multiple aggregations. You're not restricted to just 3 fields as fields visible on the Kanban tile. You can have up to 4 or 5, but Salesforce doesn't allow you to do stuff like that. You can trigger actions not just on a global scale based on selection, but you can even do that on a record level, just like that. And you can also drag and drop from one place to another, and that will update not just the values associated or the statuses associated with the record, but it'll update the aggregations and everything that you have set up on the Kanban board as well, right? So you can set up multiple aggregations at the same time. You can conditionally color on multiple fields based on any criteria, whether it's visible or not on the Kanban board. And you can even do mass updating, right? We quickly refresh to update that, and then I can show you how the mass updating and some of the other mass tasks or mass actions work with GridMate, right? So give that a couple of seconds to load. Yep. Let me just go back to the Kanban board. Yeah, apologies, guys. My connection is not helping. I just want to confirm you guys can hear me still? All fine? Yep. Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
Ness, that works.
Yes, you can.
Yep. There we go. Yeah, awesome. So then you saw how then the stage got updated, aggregation got updated, all of that stuff. You can also select individual records. You can mass update, selecting that. And you can, again, any visible field that you have, you can trigger a mass update in all of those fields, and then just really quickly update that by just saving it. So you can update the stage, any field that you have. You can choose whether you want to mass delete. Can be a little bit of a dangerous one, but you can choose if you want to have that enabled or not. You can even trigger flows. Again, it's the same with the grids. You can trigger flows, all of that stuff, and even Salesforce actions. All can be defined on the Kanban board as well. Yeah, so in addition to this, guys, there's a Gantt chart coming soon. Like I said, I've only probably gone across 4 or 5 different components. There's a pivot table. Yeah, there's a lot of different components, but all of our grids, calendars, and even can even be plugged into record pages, home pages, app pages, all of that stuff. So the component in itself functions as a solution that's very, very versatile. And I encourage everyone to try and test that out to the best of their abilities. And we're always here to support. Yeah, with that being said, guys, I'll transfer back to Renee and Dasun. Thanks.
Thanks, Nas. Thanks for the great demo.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nes. That was very insightful. I mean, even in the relatively modest number of components you went over with different weights, so the largest weight assigned to the user grid and the others more a bit in passing. I'm sort of flabbergasted how much the Salesforce interface is improved. Yeah, that is very amazing.
Thanks, Renee.
Thanks so much. We don't seem to be having questions in the Q&A. Jonas, do you maybe want to ask the participants?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let me know. I'm just loading up. I don't know if you guys can see this, but I'm loading up our AppExchange on Salesforce. That's how you guys can on Salesforce AppExchange. You guys can follow this link, install the trial. It's free for the initial part, and you guys can test this out, see what the component is. We've got a whole repository of support documentation that you all can leverage to help you guys work through creating all of these different components. But there's also myself and a whole team behind all of this that is readily available 24/7 to help you guys. Yeah, but if you guys have any questions now within the session or even later, just feel free to drop us a note. We can maybe drop our email as well on the chat.
Yeah. So you seem to be having some connectivity issues, but we will well believe, okay, that the AppExchange listing exists.
Yeah, definitely exists. I will drop the link on the chat as well. I wanted to show you guys how many we've got over 100, I think 112 5-star reviews now. I just wanted to show you guys that, but unfortunately,
Right. While this is loading, I just wanted to add a couple of things in. So as Nas mentioned, we are a 5-star rated product. We have over 100 reviews, all 5 stars, and users, our customers essentially absolutely love our product. Why? Because we really simplify their experience, right? And absolutely enhance their experience within Salesforce. So if you're an organization that's either struggling with adoption or utilization, check GridMate out. It's 100%. It's going to help you overcome those challenges. And if you don't have challenges with adoption and utilization, you're just simply looking to supercharge productivity within your teams, then again, GridMate is a must-have. And we encourage everybody to just install a trial. It's very easy to set up. And you can just start playing around with some grids, and you would see how we bring in that spreadsheet experience into Salesforce that really allows you to do things much faster and easier in Salesforce.
yeah. So Renee, you asked the question, what does GridMate's customer base look like? We're honestly industry agnostic and use case agnostic. We have customers spanning from your entertainment industries, construction, legal firms. There's a lot of different companies using it, from small SMBs to even large enterprise accounts use GridMate. Reason being, like I said, we support it on any cloud, right? If as long as you're using Salesforce and you have a Salesforce license, my personal opinion is that you definitely have to have a GridMate license, just because of all of those limitations that Salesforce has. So yeah, answer to your question is pretty much agnostic to industry.
So what we have in terms of a licensing model is it's a per user model, right? So it's $14 if you're paying monthly, but if you're paying annually, it's $132, which works out to be $11 a month. So for that amount, you get access to all 30 of our components. What Nash showed you was just four or five today. So all those components can be used together or individually to help you achieve many things that you are unable to with Salesforce natively.
Yeah, thank you so much. Rodrigo, maybe you want to ask your question?
Nas, you want to take this?
Yeah, it is compatible with SLDS.
I had also put one earlier. What does the installation, setup process, and actual deployment of GridMate involve?
Oh yeah, so the installation process is pretty much you click on get it now. That will essentially take you to you can select a sandbox or production or whatever that you have and start trialing the product. Once you have the product or the license in itself all active, you essentially need to make sure that your user has the license, you have permission sets assigned, and then you're pretty much good to go. So in terms of deployment, all of those things are listed out on our help center. I encourage everyone to just log on to gridmate.io, and then you can check out the website. You can check out our support documentation. All of that stuff will be listed out over there.
In fact, actually, we have a brand spanking new website as well. It's full of very useful information. I urge everybody to visit our website to learn how GridMate can really enhance your Salesforce experience.
Yeah, we've got individual videos for all of this, all of our components. There's documentation on everything. So yeah, feel free to check it out. GridMate is completely native, Renee, and that is opposed to some of the competitors out there. If you look at some of the others, there's a lot of visual face-based products which are sitting outside of the Lightning suite. We're completely 100% Lightning, always within Salesforce, and that's consistent across all of our components. So that's one thing that uniquely identifies GridMate, and the reason also we've been a big success. We're also FedRAMP. For those of you who might be interested. So security side, you're pretty good to go as well.
Right.
I
think Renee has another question about enhanced related list.
Yep, absolutely. So I can show an enhanced related list. Maybe let me see if I can pull that up on screen.
So to answer your question, Renee, yes, we do. So we do have a tracker that basically gives us reports, gives the org reports on how all these components are used.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So every interaction is measured with the adoption dashboard with GridMate. So you can essentially see which users are using which components, which users are not. All of their login information, pretty much, A to Z can be seen over there. So I'm trying to pull up a list, a related list with GridMate to answer your previous question. Yeah, and while that's loading, I'll answer your next question. The user grid does not have any built-in charts by default, but that is something that is on the roadmap. We're going to have a lot of graphing and charting capabilities as a part of the product as well, but not at the moment. So the roadmap consists primarily, our focus at the moment now is on the Gantt chart. That's a big component that we're releasing, requested by a lot of our existing customers. That's going to be a big game changer, I think, for a lot of the project management tools out there, because we're going to have sort of the full suite now. Whether you think you require a calendar, a map, a grid, or a Gantt chart, we can essentially cater to all of those different things for the cost of that one single license. There's no additional charges involved at any point, right? So this year, as you can see, I'm within an account record page, Renee, and you can see that I'm looking at my open opportunities over here as a related list, right? And I have all of those different grid capabilities that I spoke about on the demo, where I'm able to inline edit all of this data, I'm able to conditionally color all of this data, copy and paste, whatnot. All of those capabilities can be leveraged, and this is that enhanced related list that comes out of the box with GridMate, right? The Gantt diagram component has any connection possibilities for exporting the graphic? Yes, you will be able to export the Gantt chart. That is in the works, yeah.
And to add on to what Nas was saying, we will also be having this is pretty much in line with the next question that Renee asked. So we will be having an AI-powered note taker component. But however, that will be sort of added on as a separate product in the future.
Yeah, okay. So Ness, the opportunity page, no, the account page, sorry, seems highly customized, so it contains several components.
Several tabs, yes. So it's currently set with these dynamic tabs where you've got different grids on cases, you've got projects, all sort of different grids set up over here. All of these are related list grids, so you'll only be seeing the records related to this account. Reason being, you're on an account record page, right? So that's why that functions like that.
And what is account map? What does it show?
Account map shows you sort of a street view. It's not set up on this demo org, but it shows you a street. You can also view a street view. That's a different component. But say, for example, you're a field service agent or something like that, and you click into an account and you want to see on this a street view example of that particular address, we'll actually pull that and show you on Salesforce itself. And that's something we use on our internal log as well, for that matter.
Okay, thank you. If an account maybe has contacts in different locations, not only just one office or location, can that be shown as well?
If an account has, could you repeat the question, please?
If the address on the underlying contacts varies and is not always the same as the master account address, could I see the locations of those contacts?
Oh, yeah.
On a
of
map?
course.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yep, you can do that.
It's highly configurable to pull in that data and show it to you.
Great.
Yeah.
So you can show different versions of the same related list with different presets, right?
Yes, correct. So, I mean, it's based on how you set it up, essentially. If you want to do this, if you want to look at multiple locations related to your contacts associated to that particular account, you can probably have a separate, grid over here with your contacts. And then below that, you can pull in all of those locations, pull in the street view of those individual contacts based on their, latitude and longitude fields related to them. So all of those little aspects are configurable. The only prerequisite there is, of course, the requirement to there being an address which is geocoded for us to actually show that on the map. And provided you have that, there's no issues. Does GridMate work within a console app? Yeah, we work anywhere within Salesforce really, except for Marketing Cloud. Even Experience Cloud it functions fine.
Could you maybe high level explain what kind of other components there are in the GridMate package?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to do that. I can also show you guys the pivot table if you want.
Sure.
So the pivot table, a common use case arises for financial companies, where you can view these as sort of pivot tables on an Excel sheet, pretty much the same thing really, but you can pivot between two different objects on Salesforce, right? So you can conditionally color all of your data. You're able to bring in multiple objects on the single screen, all of those things, and even actions, inline editing, everything in the one single table, right? Yeah, there you go. So you can see that on the left-hand side, I'm looking at my opportunities, but I can also see that because this is a forecast pivot, I'm looking at all of these individual forecast values aggregated not only on a column level, on a row level rather, which is what you see on the right-hand side over here, but also on a column level at the bottom over here. So you've got three different values that'll be defined over here, which is actually the revenue, invest, and net revenue in that order. So the first field, if you see that, if I click on inline edit, the $10,000 that you see here is actually a formula field, net revenue. As soon as I make a change there, where I'll say I'll update that to 10 grand, we'll save that, and then go back to the top. You'll see how the net revenue there will then get updated to $5,000 instead, right? Little things like that just make it a whole lot easier for users to visualize. You can use this as a sort of a pivot table report. Like I said, you can define what object you want to bring in over here and associate your forecast to. But yeah, this is another grid component, or the pivot grid, what we call as a part of our solution base. And also set up filters over here. You can do actions that you can trigger on the right-hand side over here as well. Importing, exporting, freezing columns, conditionally coloring in and sorting all of this data is also something that you can do over here with the pivot table.
While we are here, a related question. Maybe you showed a lot of things, and maybe I overlooked some stuff. So can you sort on multiple columns?
Yes, we
can.
can.
We sort on multiple columns? Yes, we can. Yes, that is a limitation that Salesforce had for the longest time, where they only allowed users to do it on one single, and then it'll always redo that. But we can sort on any number of columns that you need to. Yeah.
Yes, if you have the user grid loaded up, you can just quickly.
Yeah, you can define that from this little section on the right. There's a sort over here. You can say, for example, you want to sort ascending order on the account. Then you want to set the secondary sort on the amount in a descending order. Or you can essentially see as soon as I apply that, you'll see how that shows up, and that is sorted accordingly, right? That's on two different fields, but you can keep going, right? So you can define whatever field you want to sort by over here.
Yeah, thanks for explaining. Just as a very small side note, it seems very obvious, but you are right-hand aligning the numbers and amounts, which, to the best of my knowledge, after so many years, Salesforce is not yet doing.
Oh, these numbers over here, the record counts.
No, the amounts and stuff.
And, yeah.
For me, that is very, very annoying in the standard interface. That is wrongly done.
Yeah, one of many things, Rene. One of many things.
But one that would be easy to fix. That's mothership. Sorry.
Yeah. which is which is
That's
part of
what
the
we're
problem.
here for, right? We fix all of that.
Sometimes it's off the roadmap for them. So yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very long road. That's the problem.
Yeah. So we need to wrap up, I guess, but I have thrown in like a final question from my side. What happens in an LDV scenario where you have really a large number of connected records? Will the component spin its wheels, or will it warn the user, or what's going to happen?
Yeah, so it'll be a spinning wheel. You can define, if you wanna, you can just define that it is loading, and it will appear in a particular amount of time. So there is user accessibility enhancements over there as well. So when they're loading, the recommendation, Renee, is to do 200 by 200. The reason being, we are Lightning based, where we're sitting within Salesforce, so we only support what Salesforce can support, right? Like they don't support more than 15 fields on a list. We do, right? So when you imagine 50 columns on a single grid where there are plenty of users doing that, you've got to calculate, okay, I've got 20,000 records in a particular opportunity grid, but I've also got 50 columns. Now if you multiply that, you've got to imagine the load that's going to take on the system. So then while that's of course loading, there will be just a loading screen for a couple of seconds, and then you'll obviously be brought to your grid or your calendar, whatever component you're using.
Yeah, there's also a rendering consideration. I was even speaking about the database, but you have made it quite clear. Thank you so much. Yeah, does anybody else have a burning question left? Rodrigo, on your side?
I write some questions. Just once regarding is it compatible GridMate with the SLDS2?
Yes, it is. It's compatible with the design system too. Yes.
And also on my side, I've used a lot of times the console apps. So how does is it compatible with the console apps? This GridMate application?
Yeah, it is. It is compatible, Rodrigo, to the best of my knowledge. But I'm happy to explore that offline if you want to as well.
All right. And lastly, I think yeah, I would love to see the Gantt diagram interface. And I was wondering if that Gantt diagram, I use it a lot and in most cases.
Awesome.
And is it possible to make an export of that to, I don't know, I mean, I report into my director, so he's not going to enter Salesforce and see all of this grid. I just enter this report to them, and it will be just a real gift to have this export tool to just show them the pipeline, and they can see it in a graphic way.
Yeah, absolutely. That is something that is also going to come as a part of the Gantt, Rodrigo. So you will be able to export. We can't confirm yet if it will be an Excel export, but
Or maybe
definitely
maybe an image as the dashboards components.
Exactly.
Make that
but you'll definitely be given a graphical representation of the Gantt chart to be taken out of Salesforce. That's coming out of the box. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for presenting in the ISV Landscape Series. Thank you so much, Dasun. Thank you so much, Nas. I think it's been a great episode. It's a fantastic series of components that we ought to all go explore. And yeah, I leave maybe to Dasun the last word to say the final words.
Right. Again, thanks, Renee. Thanks, Rodrigo, for having us here. Means a lot to us, and for us, it's always about really sort of simplifying the lives of Salesforce users, right? And as you saw, within this last hour. We really go deep dive and go into the details, and those little things that, although little, really matter, right? That's something that we really focus on, and our end objective is to, like I said, make sure that you have a much better experience within Salesforce.
Yeah, so you're not going to stop creating more UI goodness anytime soon.
Absolutely not.
That's I think one of the perks of having user groups. We use this, so this is the feedback all ISVs should be looking for.
Yeah, great.
Absolutely.
I wish all of our participants a good rest of the day. Good day to Mexico. Good evening in Europe. Thanks everybody for having come today. It's much appreciated. Bye bye. Take care.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Guys, bye.